So what we were talking about before was Danielle Hunter versus Chase Young versus Montez Sweat. And I was saying to you guys, and I didn't get to see your comments because of the bad sound, but I was watching Ross Tucker, the Ross Tucker podcast. Everybody's getting into the podcast game. And the long story short is he said that Danielle Hunter is their most valuable asset, and they could try to move on from him. But the negative with him is he's going to require some money and higher capital than, say, a Chase Young or a Montez Sweat. So basically, if you had to choose between the three, I think Montez Sweat is kind of a name that hasn't been in rotation as far as the trade rumors. Would you take a Montez Sweat, a Chase Young, or a Danielle Hunter? Yes, we are back. We are back. The sound was terrible, so I'm going to delete that stream. Braylon says, I'm going Chase Young. Okay, I know Danielle has 7 sacks right now. So to me, the pros and the cons. Chase Young, to me, is not injury prone. Now, I'm going to keep saying this until you have 13 days or so. You have 13 days. So you have over 300 hours of me talking about the trade deadline and how I think the Detroit Lions are going to make that move that shows the NFL world that we are here. I think it's probably going to be an expiring contract. My thought is that Brad Holmes is not going to do a 1-year rental. He's going to want to sign this guy. And we got the gift, the pros and the cons to basically, I haven't really done enough research on Montez Sweat. I know in 2019 or whenever it was that he came out, he was the talk of the town as far as why not to take him. And he's been performing at a high level ever since. So I really think like the move will be the D-line, and it's probably going to be D. I would be surprised if it's DT. Okay, Wynn says Young. Derek says I take Young. I think will be active, but I don't think it will be a big name like everyone thinks. Okay, Gibbs. Well, what would you call a big name? What would you call a big name? Because for me, it's Chase Young, Danielle Hunter. Are those big names? I'm just asking. What do you think? And I've thought about that too. Like we could get there'll be a guy that pops up that nobody was on nobody's radar, and he pops up and it's like, oh wow, we went after that guy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Chase Young is a big name. Okay, Chase Young, not so much is a big name like a Danielle Hunter. Okay. And that's crazy to me because not what you're saying is crazy, but how people talk about how people is old, right? Danielle Hunter will be 29 years old in about a week and a half. Literally 2 days before the trade deadline, he turns 29. And he's producing probably better than Brian Burns and Chase Young, separate, of course. He has 7 sacks on the season last time I counted. And he's the oldest of the bunch, but he's the one nobody wants to deal with. And I'm guessing it's because of the contract. So that is what I would say. Young is not a big name. Okay, so that's why I think Young would fit. Young would fit right what we're trying to do because he's not a big name. He's not a big name. He's a guy that, okay, so I said this last week as to why I think Chase Young would be the guy. And what I was talking about before we got rudely interrupted at my horrible sound is that Ron, from what Tucker was saying, when they got to Washington, they were talking about how you could move Chase Young for more than likely a second or a third. Now, for me, I would give them the TJ Hawkinson third round pick. That's what I would do. I would give the TJ Hawkinson third round pick to the Washington Commanders. That's this year's draft coming up for Chase Young. That's what I would do. And if he signed a contract, before the trade, I'll give him an extra pick. I'll give him 2 picks. I'll give him, I'll give him a third and maybe a conditional third or a 4th round pick, somewhere around there. Okay, Tank says, I think we go edge because I feel like our interior run stuffers are keeping things locked down. Young or Sweat over Hunter since we don't really play the linebacker standing up, the stand-up linebackers. And what I've been noticing watching Chase is he does a lot of both. Like you'll see him standing up and you'll see him in the dirt as well. And that's kind of what got me off Brian Burns is Brian Burns is not in the dirt a lot. And I think we want an in the dirt edge rusher. I know we've fleeced the Vikings for draft capital in the past, but does it concern you that the Vikings may ask for more from us for Hunter because it's in the division? It does not, because I think we say no. And nothing they do regarding Hunter concerns me. They got their hands full over there. They got to worry about Justin Jefferson. Plus, you have, okay, so think about this. If you let, first of all, Daniil don't seem like the guy that plays on the franchise tag. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Second, the best case scenario that you're going to get if you let Daniil walk away is a 3rd round compensatory pick. If you trade him, you might be able to get a first. I don't think they're getting a first for a 9-year rental. I'm sorry, a 9-game rental. If he signs a contract, then maybe. That's crazy. Matthew Stafford got a first, but crazy. So they have a choice to make. Do they A, let him walk and get a comp pick in next or 2 years draft? Do they B, franchise tag him and hold him hostage for a year? Or do they C, extend him? I don't know. Or re-sign him in free agency. Wynn says Young is the best fit for the team. Just my opinion, but I think it's still early to spend money, a big name. Okay, so I'm assuming you're saying it's too early to spend money. And that's where I'll disagree with you. Is Brad Holmes is going to do obviously what's best for the team, right? But he's also going to do it in a way that spreads the money out. That the money is not going to cripple the team. And that's why if Daniil Hunter is going to try to cripple us, we're not going his way. If Brian Burns is going to try to cripple us, we're not going his way. I still believe in my heart that when the time is right, and you might be onto something for Brad Holmes, when the time is right, that we will not throw the bag like Nick Bosa type, but we'll pay the person that needs to be paid. And the reason I say that is that I disagree with you about this not being the year, we're still a year away. If you look at Brad Holmes and his reaction from press conference, like after the game, slapping fans' hands, and dude looked like he just took some pre-workout. That tells me that this dude is ready to win. And I keep going back to the press conference, his last one, saying we're trying to compete. So let me know you got a choice between Daniil Hunter, Chase Young, and Montez Sweat. For me, I think the logical target based on production, future, and funds is Chase Young. But let me know your thoughts down below.